It's Friday here on the Real Kyper at Noon show. We are live streaming and we are getting ready for what could be a Stanley Cup presentation as early as Saturday night. Gosh, I really don't hope so. I think that all of us would like to see this thing go at least 6 or 7 games. Come on, we've come this far. We're okay with that, aren't we? And we're okay with the feeling that Dallas has got a little bit more to give. Can we see that in play tonight? There has been a level of inconsistency with Dallas. Sometimes they look great. Sometimes they can't get a shot on goal for long periods of time. And then you're just wondering, okay, is it going to strike midnight here on Cinderella when it comes to the Dallas Stars? Coming off a big assignment yesterday is Doug Maclean. Let's bring him in right away because there is so much to talk about. And we will tee up tonight's matchup and find out for sure if Dallas can make a series out of this or is it over. We'll get into that with Doug, but also the buyout period. So much talk about where salaries are going from here on in. We know what's out there. We know what's happening in the world. We know the fact that the athletes right now can't get used to what's happened in the last 5 or 10 years with salaries. There's a whole new world out there. And maybe we'll get a feel for this whole new world now that the buyout period has started. And for those of you that are kind of new to the lingo, this is an opportunity for management and ownership to get out from underneath bad contracts, overvalued contracts in their opinion. So there's an opportunity for any team to look at any of their contracts and say, I want to buy it out. Now, if you're under the age of 27, you can get bought out at a third of the value that's left on your contract. So as a player, you certainly don't hope that's going to happen. But for the rest of them, including Bobby Ryan, and that's the latest news that we can give you on the Real Kyper at Noon show, that Bobby Ryan now is on waivers, and how it works is you got to clear waivers, and if you clear waivers, then you're in a position to be bought out. It looks like Ottawa has started that process. But let's bring in Doug Maclean, former president and general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets. If there's someone that's well-versed with buyouts, it's Doug, and we'll get into that. Doug, you want to go to the Stanley Cup final, or you want to just touch on buyouts? Where do you want to go, pal?
Well, I mean, I think we probably should go to the final game, or not the final game, but the game tonight to see where where everything stands. And it's talk about either a 2-2 series or a 3-1 series. Okay. And if it's 3-1, it's over. And we know that. So big game.
So I wake up today and I got to remind myself that the series is 2-1 Tampa Bay. But Mac, doesn't it feel like it's more of a 3-1 or 3-0? Who in their right mind right now is picking Dallas to come back and not only make a series out of this or to win the Stanley Cup? It doesn't feel like a 2-1 series.
Well, it doesn't because, when you lose 2 in a row, you've lost the total momentum of the series with respect to Dallas. After a big win in game 1, and to play the way they played in the last 2. And, we've talked a lot about the big line on both teams. And the big line on one is playing unbelievably well in points line. And the big line on Dallas is really having a tough time. But you mentioned on the show yesterday something to me that was really important. And I happened to listen in I try to listen in once in a while when I'm not on. I try to see how the energy is.
And didn't Joe and Jordan bring great energy as the Real Kyper at Noon show?
I thought you were a little down yesterday, and I thought they brought you along pretty nice. But Joe's getting a lot of great experience of his NFL show, and Jordan, I mean, he's learning. But here's what the point you made yesterday to me that's really, really important. You've got a checking line, Gord's line. Gord's line with obviously the big boys that are playing so well in Coleman and Goudreau. And you also had a great checking line playing for Dallas. And that checking line with Cogliano, Como, Faxa, and so on
is gone.
Has now disappeared. They are gone with Como's injury and with Faxa's injury. Now they got a kid playing on the line with them. You know, they're just not as good in that checking line versus the Gord checking line. So it's not only the big boys that are affecting this series, the number one line for Dallas not going, the number one line for Tampa going. It's the lack of the checking line on Dallas that I think has really hurt them.
I got to admit, 2 nights or 2 shows ago, you kind of, you gave it to me pretty good over Seguin. And I tried my best to say, Mac, there's some good things out there. And they found a way to win that first game without him scoring, yada, yada, yada. And
yada. There's a lot of yada, yada, yada going on.
I know. But there is so much heat on this guy right now.
You don't have to suck up to it's your show. You don't have to suck up to me when you
I'm
have
not
blunders.
Sucking up to anybody.
But anyway, it's fine. Look,
I don't do that. Okay? Because the credit, and we listened to Rick Bowness the other day in his press conference, and they got to do it by committee. And yes, you hope that those guys come around, but they've gotten so much mileage out of everyone else. But when it's all said and done, our game's always been about your best players showing up at the right time. What do you do if you're Rick Bowness now to try to get these guys going? It's too late for any message sending. You're really at the mercy of these guys, just hoping that it breaks through.
Here's what I do tonight is, look, it's not just Seguin. Radulov has not been great recently. Bad penalties. The focus doesn't seem to be there. Jamie Benn has been a horse. Missed a couple of great opportunities that you thought were sure goals. So he's not hitting on all cylinders. So it's not just Seguin. So what I would try to do tonight is I would start with the line and see how they respond. See how Seguin responds to the pressure that he's been under. Does he get it done? And if not, I start flipping a couple of guys in your top 6. You've got some experienced guys with Pavelski there that you can move some people with. You've got Corey Perry with a ton of experience. I think you do a couple of subtle changes, not a panic move on the bench, but maybe just flip the odd guy. So maybe you want to move Radulov off the line and put somebody else. Maybe it's Corey Perry slides up, or whoever it happens to be slides up in the big line. Maybe it's Gurianov. Maybe it's, Kivaranta, kids that have played well. I think you do a subtle move before you set panic in motion. So I would start with the line, and then if it's not going, I would consider some subtle changes.
The one concern I have, Mac, for Dallas is the perception out there. And we know, and we've talked about it, well documented, this bubble and the effects it's had on the players and how some of them have wanted to race out. My worry tonight for Dallas is if there's a level of lull, which we've seen in their game already in this series, that going into the next game, if they're down 3-1, people are going to accuse them of mailing it in and just wanting to get out. I hope that doesn't happen.
Good God. I'm telling you what, we were down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final to Colorado when we went to the Stanley Cup finals. And we lost 1-0 in the last game, the elimination game. We lost 1-0 in triple overtime. I can't believe NHL players would ever contemplate mailing it. Is your head messed up? But nobody mails it in my opinion, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Even as goofy and as bad as this bubble is, good God, I can't believe that would happen.
And Dallas deserves better. But you know what people are like. You know how people talk out there.
I agree. But both these teams, and you said this at the start, we talked about this at length. The team that handles the bubble better than all will be the Stanley Cup champions. So we know some teams did not handle the bubble well at all. And I'll tell you what, by being in the Stanley Cup final, that Dallas and Tampa Bay both have handled being in this crazy situation better than most. So Tampa, I can't believe that it will happen now.
Tampa was, even before we started this thing, you would have thought Tampa had the best mental edge out of anybody in the bubble because of their disappointments in the last 5 years, Mac.
Big time.
So whether or not you're in a bubble or in front of 20,000 fans, they don't care. They just know they're going to get called Stanley Cup champions if they can get this done.
And look, Cooper deserves some credit. This team has tightened up. This team has changed the way they've played defensively. The GM deserves some credit for adding some really, really important pieces, as we talked about in the pregame with Coleman. And Goudreau. Those are real important. Even as Shen has come in. So look, there's a lot of elements that have happened here. Coaching, good job by the coaches, good job by the GM, and also great job by the actual players coping. And they have done a hell of a job, both on the ice and off the ice. And so have Dallas.
Yeah.
Both of them deserve full marks.
Okay, I know we sometimes don't agree on a lot of things, but I think you're going to be with me on this. That when people say that Hedman seems like the odds-on favorite to win the Conn Smythe, I say, no, he is the Conn Smythe right now. There isn't even anyone close. There isn't anyone that's going to touch him. And I love what Point's been able to do and some others, but it's not even close right now. This guy is in total beast mode.
I love what Stamkos has said about the guy. And look, we heard all the yapping about this guy when he was a kid in the league. But as Stamkos said recently, this guy is the captain when I'm not there. This guy is the guy. He's the guy that's been heavily involved in on ice, off ice, coaching, so on. He's been the guy. You're right. Headman, look, there's been some great candidates. Hudobin has been a good candidate. I'm sorry it's not close. And Point has been unbelievable. I get it. Kucherov's been good. It's not close. 30 minutes a game, 28 minutes a game. Come on. He has been so good.
And you watch now, Mac, the importance of having a bona fide number one defenseman.
Oh,
and
it's unbelievable.
But and as much as we've marveled, and I have certainly, and I'm still blown away in terms of what Heskinen's done to go to another level. And Klingberg has shown me so much through this stretch, but it's no coincidence, Mac. The level of their play has dropped off. And when it dropped off, so did the Dallas Stars, and so did kind of that magic that they've had. But Hedman, it's either on superstar plane or it's actually increased. That's how good Hedman has been. But forwards, I've always said, I love forward. Like we know what they mean, but they're a dime a dozen compared to a great defenseman when it comes to controlling the pace of play.
If you don't have that, there's only one team that I can recall that's won the Stanley Cup in the last whatever years is Carolina. How the hell they ever won that cup with that blue line that they had? And they were a good blue line, but they didn't have the horse. The closest we've seen to Hedman in this playoffs, the closest, is Seth Jones. And Seth Jones only played one round. They had a fake round and then a round. But Seth Jones, his caliber of play through that round and the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, then, this guy has done it through every round. He's done it through Columbus. He's done it through Boston. He's done it through the Islanders. Tough competition. And Hedman's game has not dropped off one bit. To have him play at this level, Nick, for 4 rounds, plus the preliminary, this is friggin' unbelievable for me. How well and has he had a bad game?
No.
They even play him with it's not Ruta, it's Ruta. Ruta. He's playing with Ruta.
He played with Bogosian. He's made everybody look great.
Exactly. So you're absolutely right. He's the Conn Smythe winner. So now, we've seen some weird voting here recently. So how the hell do you know who's going to win it?
Well, it's It's not even a contest. It's not even a contest right now.
It's not even a contest. No, it isn't.
So we know Victor Hedman has got at least 2 games to go. He could play as many as 4 if Dallas is lucky enough to extend this to 7. So he's got 10 goals. Over the course of history, it's only been Brian Leetch in 1994. Thanks to my stellar play, he was able to get 11 goals during a playoff run. And then there's Paul Coffey at 12 with the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
Does he
with Gretzky?
Does he get 2 more goals? Does he get 2 more goals? Does he tie the record?
Wasn't Koff playing with a guy by the name of Wayne Gretzky too?
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
And Koff,
he's no point, but he's pretty good.
Koff was pretty damn good too. You're right.
You think he breaks the record? Where did this offense come from out of Victor Hedman? We didn't see it early in his career. Marty St. Louis, who was on our show last week, said there were times when he knew he had so much more and he had to kind of, be tough on him to get it out.
You know what? It's interesting. I mean, does he still have the respect? I'm watching the game the other night in a penalty killing situation. I saw 4 Dallas players, the 4 penalty killers, on the goal line or below their own goal line. And Hedman at the top of the circle, wide open, and teeing it up in a big goal in the game. You know what? He's got the great sense where he knows when to jump now. He's got the great shot. He's hard to defend because of his size and his skill.
6'6" to move like that.
Really?
So graceful.
Really. Yeah, it's unreal. So he's the winner for fun. He's the winner.
Are we gonna get past Saturday night?
I'll tell you after tonight.
Hey, put the cojones on the line right now.
I felt bad. I felt bad for our guys there, Joe and Jordan, about us picking Dallas the other night to win. Good God. I mean, was my head up my ass or what when I picked Dallas to win the other night?
Occasions.
I felt terrible about that.
I'll give you a chance to pull your head out of your ass right now and just let's bring in Jordan and Joe right now and talk about boosting tonight's game up on blitzbet.eu. Boys.
Hey, I can confirm, Doug, your head was located in that vicinity. We had some commenters tell us about it, but are you doing okay now?
Hey, by the way, can we save that clip where he accuses himself of having his head up his ass?
Yes.
I'm going to play that over and over and over again.
I'll even send you the hard copy.
I get that played at home once in a while.
Everybody in the chat, let us know if you get that played at your own respective home.
Yes. So, Mac, we want the money line on Tampa Bay or Dallas tonight.
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
Whose head is where now? Is it serious?
What are you bringing in? You're bringing.
Listen, I'm going.
It's hard
I'm going
to bet
with Dallas.
against Tampa
I'm
Bay.
going with Dallas. I'm going with Dallas.
Oh,
tonight. I am. I don't work tomorrow, right?
2 heads up your butt.
So I don't work tomorrow. So that means I got 3 days before people remember it.
They won't remember it by Monday.
I am just saying. No, I'm going with Tampa. I'm going with Tampa.
Flip, flop.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Yeah. I'm sorry, I am. But I am going there. So I'm going with Tampa.
Your heart wants Dallas.
Yes.
But your head is saying Tampa Bay.
I want Dallas to win. Bad.
Mac, they look spent. Mentally, they look spent. Dallas.
Hudobin has been so damn good. He's been on everything they've asked of him. I think these back-to-backs are going to be just absolute killers on him. I really do.
So outside of the money line or Tampa or Dallas, the thing that I really feel strongly about today, in my expert opinion, and when I say I mean Ian Cameron, our NHL hockey betting writer, I feel that we should slightly target the Tampa Bay Dallas over at 5. It's currently set at -130. Maybe we get the Blitzbet boys to boost that during the show. Do you guys feel like things might open up a little bit more as we're heading into the back-to-back?
I didn't like Vasilevsky or Hudobin the other night. And I think, again, it goes to the challenges of being in their scenario, whether it's the bubble, whether it's the daily lack of activity outside of that, not much time that they've had to really carry out their normal routine. I think it's catching up to them. I'll take the over on this.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then are we going with Dallas?
Whatever the hell that means, I'll take the over too. What does over mean here?
So over means that there are more goals being scored. So if we're at a half number, we need to be above it.
Okay, good. Got it.
So there, you always have a 0.5 to get a winner and a loser, right?
Right.
There's no ties. So I think it's 5-5. We got to get over 5.5 goals.
So it's 5 tonight. So we have to get 6 basically. So more or less what happens is that if it's going to be 5.5, the number is going to be slightly different. So if it's 5.5, it might not be minus 130. It might be minus like 155 or something along those lines. You know what I mean?
Mac, do you see a 4-3 score? Do you see with an empty netter 5-3?
I see a higher scored game tonight. I think that people are going to be opening up, trying to. I think the guys that have been struggling for Dallas, to me, will open up their game a little bit, and when you open up, more goals typically are scored. So I think Dallas will open up the play, and either they're going to score or they're going to get beat bad.
Who do you think is going to score? Do we have any chances that our main man, who is known for being a good-looking hockey player, might be known for scoring some goals, or what's the deal here with Sir Tyler?
You know what? Yeah, he's due to score a goal. I mean, good God! I mean,
would you put your money on him after watching the frustration?
I'd put my money on Jamie Benn, and I'd put my money on Point. That's who I'd put my money on.
How are you feeling, Kyper?
And I wouldn't put that much.
Yeah, I think Kucherov, he scored the other night on the breakaway. I think he's a little bit of a streaky kind of guy. That's where I would go. But I'm going to go Mac. It's Friday. I'm feeling Mac. You want to go Ben or Point?
Yeah, I'm going. Do I have to pick one?
Yes.
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah, then I'm
Point. He's going to go Point.
I'm going to go Point.
Okay.
Yeah, how can you not with that power play going now? And if it's as streaky as John,
and with the guy that plays in the middle of it, has a pretty good chance to score.
Okay.
So
you good, Jordan?
Yeah. To recap, we're gonna boost that the over under at 5. Blitzbet's gonna get back to us. We're gonna boost Braden Point to score. I think that we should leave the money line alone. I think that we're a little bit too torn here if we think Dallas is gonna do it.
Yes, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
We got to protect our record. We have a reputation to uphold around here.
Very, very strong reputation.
All right, we'll get that sent into Blitzbet now. Talk to you
Thank you, Jordan. Now, Mac, I'm going to change gears a little bit here because we are in a now buyout window officially. It started today.
Wow.
It's 2 weeks if I understand it correctly. So there is some time for teams to make decisions. Before we get into maybe some names or some specifics, let's just talk about your experience as a president and general manager with buyouts. Mac, am I okay to say, maybe not too long ago, you would look at a buyout as an option, but not anything that was pressing. It was more, did you lend not to buy out guys just because it was the embarrassment of it? And now that's not the case.
I don't get how GMs get away with this. I really don't.
We're not following you.
Well, these are monumental mistakes that are made on the signing of these players. And when you've got to buy out a guy and give him $10 million to leave and walk away, or $5 million or $15 million, and just say goodbye, get out of here, you're not going to play for us. I mean, I don't know how you get away with this. You're the guy that signed these guys in most cases, unless the guy that signed them has been fired. I'll never forget this. I bought out Andrew Castles, and it was going to be $450,000 to buy out Andrew Castles. And my owner snapped. He went nuts. He was so pissed off that I was paying out a $450,000 buyout and he wasn't going to play for us. And today it's 10 million, it's 15 million. It's big mistakes. And I understand you get cap relief. It saves you money. It's a different way to look at it, but it's still monumental mistakes. It is.
Mac, under the circumstances, I think we expect to see a lot of buyouts. We're going to get into Bobby Ryan in Ottawa in just a second here, but there's no question that in the next few days, up until unrestricted free agency that starts October 9th, we're going to really find out how owners feel in terms of now putting their general managers in position to say, you got to save me every last cent you can.
And that's the one thing. It is saving the team's money. It does save them money. But
that's Eugene Melnick right now with Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan has 2 more years left at 7.25. He's also got $2 million in a signing bonus this year, $2 million next year. That cannot be bought out at 2/3. But they are still going to save $10 million in the next 2 years.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, Eugene, I'm buying him out. This was a bad signing when Brian Murray, a great friend of mine, who obviously is gone now and just a wonderful human being, traded for Bobby Ryan and made this big signing when he lost Alfredson. And you know what? It was even frightening at the time. And I remember us talking about it because of the way Bobby Ryan skated. How was this going to really turn out at the end of the day? We had the same conversation about Mark Stone, by the way, too. Where's he going to be near the end? Where's Tavares? Where are all these big signings going to be at the end of these long terms? So what it means is you buy out Bobby Ryan and you replace him with an $800,000 minimum player, a minimum salary player. So you save your owner money, but it's got to drive owners crazy that just a minute, I'm giving him $10 million just to go away and not play for us. But it is a saving. That's the way they have to look at it.
Well, what's interesting now too, Mac, is you've also got very smart agents out there, and they could read the tea leaves as good as anybody. And they've structured a lot of deals that make it essentially buyout proof.
Exactly.
And
I don't blame them. I don't blame them for that.
And you're caught between a rock and a hard place because you want the player, but you're in the here and now.
How do you explain that to your owner? I love this one because it's one thing to explain to the owner, we're giving them $10 million just to go and get away from us. But then what about the fact that you got to go to him and say, I can't even buy him out because when we signed him, we wanted him so bad. Like, is Mark Stone's contract buyout proof? I've got to believe it probably is. I mean, John Tavares's. I don't blame the agents. The agents have done a good job. And the agents are always the guys that come up with unique strategies to pound the teams.
Well, let's go through a few names here. The biggest one that we expect has got to be King Henry Lundqvist. We know the scenario there. The writing's on the wall. Mac, you obviously expect something to happen here, whether or not the Rangers want to do it in the next few days or take another week to decide. I can tell you right now, definitively, that Lundqvist has not made anything clear in terms of what his thoughts are on, i.e. retirement. He's still weighing out his options. But in the meantime, you gotta know, if you're the New York Rangers, that you've got him on 1 year left at $8.5 million. So you got to assume that a buyout is probably their first option.
I would think it is. They've got the two guys they want ahead of them. And as amazing a career as he has had, what a positive guy he's been for the Rangers. A team that's got to proceed and got to get better. To me, it's a no-brainer. He will probably be bought out.
The Rangers in Colorado had discussions on Lundqvist at the deadline. Is there any scenario where you could see them stick with their Franzus and Lundqvist to try to win a Stanley Cup? Can you see that if the Rangers were to certainly take on a good portion of that last year of his contract?
Well, I just think with the goalie market where it is right now, with the number of high-end goaltenders that are going to be available, I've got to believe that would be a second option. Although, are they comfortable with their number one guy, Grubauer? I guess they are. Colorado is they're poised to win a Stanley Cup in Colorado. But I don't know if their goaltending is good enough, whether it's Grubauer or Francis to me is not going to be the guy.
I don't expect Grubauer back.
No, well, either do I.
I think he's got 1 year left, and I think it's one of those contracts where teams like him, Mac, and they'd happy to take it. And if I'm not mistaken, he's at about $3.4 million, which is teams would be very comfortable to take that on.
But what I'm saying is Colorado need a Stanley Cup type of goaltender. And I don't see Lundqvist at this stage at more than a backup. And Colorado, to me, have got to look at the bigger picture, the bigger market, and come up with a top guy. Like I talked to somebody this morning, they said, what about a Fleury? Would they take a run at a Fleury? Would they take a run at a Holtby? Well, those are the type of guys, a Markstrom, if he happens to get, if he becomes available. I don't know. That's where I see Colorado going versus a Lundqvist.
Okay, you mentioned him, Marc-Andre Fleury, Vegas. We do know that he spoke to the media. I think he had an in-depth conversation with The Athletic. Mac, I don't know if you caught the interview, said all the right things. Want to stay in Vancouver or Vegas, wanted to end my career here. I don't want to go. Really insinuated that I could even work with Robin Lehner, and he's a great guy. We get along well. There was no animosity. There was no friction. There wasn't much said about the tweet. It just seemed to me like, I don't know, is he messing with management's mind in Vegas? It would be easier if he came out and said, I'm pissed off. Get me the hell out of here. That's what I think management would have liked to have heard.
He's sending a subtle message to McCrimmon and George McPhee saying, you messed with the wrong guy. And we all know his agent, who we like or tolerate, Allen. And look, say what you want about Allen, but he protects his guys. And this is a message sending statement that, hey, you owe me $7 million. If you're giving Lehner $5 million, which you reported a couple of weeks ago, and I've seen a bunch of people jump on the bandwagon on that one, as well as a bunch of others you've said. But anyway, that's for another day. That's $12 million in goaltending. And I guess I still think there's some rumblings within the dressing room in Vegas about, is Lehner really the guy? I mean, his conditioning is an issue. I don't care what anybody tells me. I've heard it too many times. His weight, his conditioning, and is he really the guy to take you to a Stanley Cup? Well, this was message sending by Fleury that, hey, boys, you got an issue here. You got a problem, and you better do something about it.
So he's got 2 years left at $7 million per Mac. Is he set up for a buyout here?
No way. No way to me. I don't see. I see you getting Marc-Andre in a room, getting his agent in the room with him and saying, okay, how do we fix this? How do we make this so we can make it work for Marc-Andre Fleury? I don't see a buyout at all here. I may be wrong on this, but I just don't see that.
Well, and the interesting part is that it would be a cap hit for the next 4 years, because just to make it clear to everybody, a buyout is 2/3 of your salary over twice the time period. Mm-hmm. So he's got 2 years left. So the buyout would be at $4 million, or I'm sorry, at 4 years. And, with a flat cap, Mac. That's challenging. I believe that Fleury, it would be in the best interest of Vegas to trade him.
Right,
And
totally.
It's hard, but it's hard at $7 million, Mac. Not many teams will take that. So
No.
they're gonna have to eat some of this salary.
I agree. They're going to have to, and they don't want to do that either.
Well, they're going to have to.
I know.
They're going to have to, and it may be, Mac, as much as 50%. And again, for all of you out there that's listening, that's the maximum amount that you're able to withhold on a trade is 50%, half the value of the contract. And I think anywhere between 50 and between 25 and 50 is very reasonable. And once that happens, Mac, once you're in a scenario where all of a sudden you can get Marc-Andre Fleury for $3.5 or $4 million for 2 years, that's a hell of a deal. And I got to think teams like Colorado would be lining up for Marc-Andre Fleury.
I mean, we've got Edmonton, we've got Calgary, we've got Colorado, we've got. I mean, who's going to be Washington's number one goaltender if they don't get Holtby done? So there's some real. There would be some real interest there, and it's well documented. He's one of the finest guys. I had a beer with Gerard Gallant last night. Marc-Andre Fleury is one of the finest guys you could ever have the luxury of coaching. And you're right if it's 50%. But how does that 50% hamstring the Vegas Golden Knights?
It does
going forward.
It does, but it only holds them back. But for 2 years, Mac, opposed to the 4 years.
Right.
And if you're going to stick at a salary cap at 81, you assume that thing's not going to move for the next 3 or 4 years. I think if you're Vegas, you'd rather take the hit on the first 2 years than the 4 years. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree. But when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup, these hits hurt you when you're at the trade deadline trying to get your team over the top, and you're looking at that money that's sitting there. You can't. That's essentially dead money. That is.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, let's move it around the league now. I'm hearing off the St. Louis Blues that Alex Steen at a little over $5 million would be one of those buyouts to alleviate some of the issues that they have. And if they don't re-sign Pietrangelo, they're going to be looking for somebody else, Mac. I can't believe that they're just going to drop him and think that Scandella and Justin Falk is going to get it done on the back end. So Alex Steen is set up for a buyout.
Yeah, just before we leave Vegas, let's not forget about Paul Stastny with 1 year left at 6.5.
And who's going to take that on?
That's the $1 million question as well. I mean, is there any chance they can move Stastny at 6.5 on a 1 year deal? Yeah. That's a way if they want to be in the Pietrangelo, they've got a Fleury and a Stastny challenge there. And you're right, Steen to me looks like a viable guy that could be taken out of the picture there. That certainly would help.
Yeah. Okay, just some news. Again, we're live streaming here, so when it comes in, we'll do whatever we can. No surprise here, Mac. No one needs to put their surprise faces on that Stamkos is deemed unfit.
Yeah.
All but 2 minutes and 47 seconds. And what a 2 minutes and 47 seconds, Mac.
What a 2 minutes and 40. Like, I mean, the shot he made on the goal was spectacular. The excitement of seeing him come out with the flow. More people were excited about his haircut than they were about seeing him on the ice, about his flow. And
I don't want to.
How damn good was he?
Yeah, it was a good moment.
What a devastating situation to see him, to go down like that. And after all the work, but look, he's quality through and through. Disappointing.
Okay, we're going to get back to the buyout scenario here, but just one question now that I've got this topic of conversation on, especially with you, who's played big time with management and ownership, and I'm not here to rain on that amazing moment, but Mac, when you have a guy like Stamkos coming back after, 6 months of surgery and rehabilitation, and you're either, a general manager, a president, an owner, and all you get is 2.5 minutes out of him and no more. Is there anyone that would question it and go, okay, what's going on here? Like the good part, and I've said this all along, was Tampa has shown that they're good enough to win without him. And that speaks to their volume of depth in the organization. But, would there have ever been a scenario when someone would have said, how do you put him back on the ice and he can't last longer than 3 minutes here? Like, what the hell is going on?
Well, look, he would be chomping at the bit to get into the lineup. This would be a big decision by Stamkos, by the team doctors, by the trainers, and everybody would have to sign off on this full time.
So is it we're deep enough that we'll take our chances, and if we only get a shift or two out of you, then so be it, and that's it. Maybe that's the case then. Yeah,
I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it because he took Luke Schenn out of the lineup.
Yeah.
The way that Cooper set this up with this 11-7 number, it was a perfect scenario. He slides in as the 12th guy that he hasn't had all playoffs, and he's going to miss Luke Schenn's 7 minutes of ice time.
Yeah.
If Stammer gives him 4 or 5, and all of a sudden Schenn's only giving you 7 to 10 on a big night, it was a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And hey, if you would have taken an important guy out of the lineup up front and put him in, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Just love getting your perspective on it. And the real big picture is let's hope he can fix this.
The big picture is you've got a team that's they got to sign Sergachev, who's coming up. They've got to sign the big kid Chernak on the blue line, which costs them a lot of money, in my opinion. And they got the big the Sorel up front. That's going to cost them some big money. Look at his numbers in the regular season. He's really their number 2 guy. Gord and him are really 2-3, whichever way you look at it. What kind of money is it going to cost them to get him done? And they are up against the cap. So there's going to be some major bodies moving out of this group. I mean, Shattenkirk obviously is gone. Schenn's gone. But where do they go with, what Coburn has got one more year at
Mac, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys on Tampa playing their last games.
Yeah, big time
for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And
what's Stammer? What's Stammer got left?
Oh, Stammer's got 4 more years at 8.5. He's not going anywhere, and he's got a no-movement clause.
Right.
Kucherev's got a no-movement clause, and he's at least 6 years at 9.5.
The salvation will be that a Tyler Johnson type of guy will end up in Seattle. In a year's time.
I don't know if they're even interested at Tyler Johnson. Mac, yeah, maybe to get to the cap. He's got $5 million left at 4 years. Tyler Johnson is, I think it's an untradeable contract. Anything's possible with money in, money out. No question about that. But on the surface, nobody wants Tyler Johnson at $5 million right now.
No, so, exactly.
Whether or not Seattle takes him, but here's their biggest problem too, Mac, is that, somebody's got to go off of Palat, Killorn. Okay.
Killorn goes for me. I think Killorn goes, and he's still a good player. He's
a good player. He's got a total no trade clause.
Right.
Johnson's got a total no trade clause. So, these guys, and we'll get into Hornqvist as well with his total no trade clause, and we do know that the trade went through, but they're tough. Yeah. They're tough. And if they say, I want to stay, then you're in a corner if you're Tampa Bay.
And you know what? When you're looking at these no movements, I hate to say this and tell you, but I was the GM that was responsible for creating the no movement clauses, which I've told you in the past.
Was that was Rick Nash?
No, that was Todd Marchand. Oh, the Todd Marchand trade, when he had a no trade, and so he wouldn't go. I had traded him to Berkey in Anaheim in the Fedorov deal, and he sat in my office and said, I've got a no trade. I'm not going. And I had given him the no trade. So I put him on. That's fine. So then I put him on waivers, and Berkey picked him up on waivers, which was sort of hush hush. Going. Anyway, then the next year, their agents went. Marchand's agent went ballistic, and so then they came the next year. No movement clauses became part of the new. That maybe is the only thing I'm proud of in my general manager career.
Yeah. Well,
so they have been a pain in the ass to GMs. Let me tell you.
For the record, I caused the toe in the crease rule.
I know you did.
We're 1 for 1. We're 1 for 1.
Fred Hull gets all the credit for it, but it really was you.
That whole, oh my God, what a disaster that rule was. Thank God they got it out. Chernak, you mentioned, Mac. He can't stay. He's done. He's seeing his last days. They can't afford him.
He may be a guy that's going to come in at a minute. I mean, how much are you going to pay Chernak? He's a big guy. He's a good, solid guy. But what are you going to pay him? I mean, they're going to come in. They're going to offer him the minimum. That's what they're going to offer. He's coming off an entry level, right? And they're going to have to offer him. He's going to have to take a low contract to stay.
Okay.
They're lucky. They're lucky. And remember this name. They just signed Alex Green from Cornell University, a 22-year-old right-hand, 6'3", 210-pound defenseman. You watch and see what impact he has on the Tampa Bay Lightning next year.
We'll keep
just a tidbit. Keep an eye on that one.
We'll keep an eye on that. Now, do you speak as the senior analyst on the Real Kyper at Noon show, or do you speak as his representative in an agency?
I speak on behalf of my son, who was represented since he was 15. And I'm telling you, I went to Cornell and watched him play this year. Telling you, the guy's a player. He's a big-time player. So he just signed a cap deal with Tampa, and I'm excited to watch his progress.
Well, that's the way it's going to have to be, Mac. You're going to have to replace.
Going to have to be with a lot of teams.
A lot of money here. Hey, I'm going to throw out a guy that's not notoriously known for buyouts, but he is for burying guys. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Robida Island. Does that come into play here?
Lou Lamoriello.
Lou Lamoriello doesn't like the buyout.
He's created more islands than glaciers did.
So where's Andrew Ladd's island? What is he gonna do here? Because
he's going to spend the winter on an island somewhere in the South Pacific.
He's got some tough decisions to make too, because he's got that Ladd contract. But here's the problem, Mac, when you're talking about Boychuk and Ladd, that they're loaded up with their signing bonuses. So they've got those type of contracts where it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to go down that path.
Right.
So, you look at Nick Leddy. Nick Leddy does not have a signing bonus structured contract. And I think he's got a couple more years, and he makes good money, and he's a good player.
Yeah, he's an important player.
But you also have to sign all these new kind of players that have come up, like Pulak and Devon Taves, Devon Taves.
And guys that were unbelievably important for them.
And Barzell, is he $9 or $10 million? Barzell,
right? And not only that, you've got to get Barzell done and some of your kids, but you also want to improve your group because you think you're getting close to being a Stanley Cup contender. You got a new building on the horizon. You want to be able to improve your team. So that's the challenge. So you're right. There's some tough decisions, and some islands could be created if they make economical sense.
Well, Vancouver, is it just a foregone conclusion that Louis Eriksson gets bought out, or do you threaten? And this is also an option for teams, Mac, is that you can try to, bury $1 million in the minors.
This is a tough one because, look, Jimmy Benning was the guy behind the signing because he had a history with Louis from Boston. And Louis Eriksson was a 30-goal scorer and a good player. The game got too quick for him as he got a little older.
Yeah.
This is a decision that's got to be made. This is a team that has got to improve. They've got to improve, and they've got to also pay these two superstar kids plus a couple others.
Yeah.
Either he's going to be bought out or he's going to be put in the minors in Utica. Yeah. And I've been to Utica. I like driving through Utica. I don't want to live in Utica. My good friend Gary Agnew, who worked with me for 10 years in the NHL, is the associate coach in Utica, and he loves Utica. I don't want to be in Utica, and I know Louis doesn't want to be there, but they cannot have Louis Eriksson on the Vancouver.
I know there was talk a while ago, Erik Johnson from Colorado to Vancouver for Louis Eriksson because they made the same money, $6 million. And it would have just been, your issue, my issue. But Johnson didn't want to go to Canada. So maybe it would have had a different look, but I don't think that gets revisited at all. And and Erik Johnson ended up hurt, unfortunately, in the playoffs. And that's history here.
And Erik, he's got 1 year left, Johnson.
Erik Johnson, I think, may have 2 years left, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe even more.
Yeah,
I'll take a quick look. But there's a significant amount of money still left.
Yeah,
and that's three years at 6.
That's so. Tough. And look, Erik, he's been a good player for Colorado since he's gone there, but that's one they'd like to see off their books sooner than later.
Yep. And then there's some general managers, Mac, that are still trying to get deals done. I hear that there's some talk between Calgary and Arizona. And basically, Bill Armstrong goes into Arizona, and the feeling out of there is anybody over 25 years of age, make us an offer. So I think Calgary's kicking tires for sure. And the names that I hear are Kemper, the goaltender, and Ekman Larsson as well in Calgary. And the player I hear that Calgary shopping is Noah Hannafin.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. I mean, they desperately need some help. They need somebody to play with Giordano. For me, Anderson is their defenseman. Anderson is an interesting guy. He will move up in their lineup. I mean, he was he played in the number 4 hole. I wouldn't be surprised he can move up even higher in that 2 hole. He's a good young player. Valimaki's a good young player, but they still need a big horse back there. And Ekman Larsson would be a great fit. Kemper's been a real good find. I mean, this is a guy that was acquired and has played real well in Arizona. He'd be a great pickup. And we know right-hand defenseman, or a guy that can play the right side, and a number 1 goalie is the biggest need of the Calgary Flames.
Yeah. Well, we waited, and we mentioned it here on the Real Kyper show that when we heard about Hornqvist to Florida for Matheson, the word that I had gotten was premature, and it really came down to a no-trade clause that I think Hornqvist found himself a little set back, that it wasn't discussed in great length. I think the foregone conclusion, again, Mac, even though you have a no-trade clause, is do you really want to nullify a trade when you're not feeling welcomed? And I think Hornqvist kind of came to that conclusion.
Look, this is a great lesson. And look, when you're a general manager and you make a trade, you want to tell people. Yeah. You want to get it out. Well, this is a prime example that when you make a trade, you keep your mouth shut till it's approved by the National Hockey League, until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. You don't tell your player, and it leaked out because players were told. That's how it leaks out. Or somebody in your office leaks it out, and if you find out who it is, you fire them on the spot.
Yeah.
But this is a situation where this has gone 2 days because of it leaking out before players were notified, before the league approved it. For whatever reason, this can't happen. This can't happen that it gets out like this.
One of the players that I actually, if I'm studying the rosters and I'm looking prior to this trade, I would have looked at Mike Matheson's contract, Mac, and he signed originally an 8-year deal with a 4.6 cap. I would have almost thought that was almost a scenario where you thought about a buyout, because he's at that age where actually it would be 1/3.
I know, but here,
that. And you want to talk about owners that were upset with certain contracts. I think that was the case, unfortunately, for Dale Talon. He took a lot of heat for that contract.
Yeah, and what happened to him? Remember watching him in the World Championships a few years ago? This guy looked like he was going to be a real player. Watched him in Florida play a couple of years ago. He looked like he was going to be a real player. What happened to Matheson? What happened? That
lost his confidence, Mac.
Oh my God, I don't know what happened, but I mean, look, I remember watching him, and I've talked to people that have been around him. This guy was a hell of a prospect and a good player.
It was.
So can he rebound in and make this contract, feasible for the Pittsburgh Penguins? We know Hornqvist is injury prone. I mean, you're taking on an injury prone 33-year-old who's had concussion problems, who hasn't, he's had major problems. Paul Fenton drafted him. He's the assistant GM. He drafted him last overall in the 2005 draft. Well, that's a long time ago. I don't get how this.
Well,
he other than get rid of Matheson.
Confidence was a major issue. Also, it's been well documented now. Frank Saravelli of TSN talked about a kicking incident around Mike Kitchen as well, Mac. And I can tell you, from the people that I've talked to, that Matheson was involved in that incident in some capacity, and exactly where, but he was a prominent, he played a prominent role somewhere in that. And I just feel that if you're Bill Zito now and you want to kind of have a clean slate or get people in new environments that they can resume their career, maybe that's the Matheson going to Pittsburgh. And the other thing I can tell you too, Mac, even on that, is that I don't think we've heard the last of this Mike Kitchen incident as well, even with the Florida Panthers, because he had, if I'm correct, he had multiple years left on his contract, and it doesn't appear that Florida is anywhere near in terms of honoring what's left on his contract.
Does that surprise you?
Well, hey, listen,
seriously. But listen,
again, all I know, Mac, is that there's always two sides to every story, and I'm not sure if Mike Kitchen feels like his side's been, well heard just yet. So all I know is when there's money on the table, still, Mac, issues and problems don't necessarily go away.
Zito comes in, and this is a way to appease his owner because they were so upset with this contract that Dale had signed. This is a way to get in your owner's good books, get him out of town, and it's also get him out of town because of this incident. I've known Mike Kitchen for a long, long time. I've never coached with him, but I've certainly coached against him for over a 30-year period, and I have a hard time with this one.
Well.
And I'm really anxious to hear Mike Kitchen's side of the story. It's always good. It's always good to have people chirping and shooting their mouths off. I like to hear what Mike Kitchen's side of it is. And obviously, if he's trying to get money from the Panthers, he's got to keep quiet.
Well,
anyway.
I played for Mike Kitchen briefly in Toronto, and I know him as a real passionate guy, and he could grade your nerves with the best of them.
Totally.
10 years older, been retired out of the game, and he's out skating you in practice. That's enough for me to want to give him a two-hander across the ankles. But I don't ever recall him being physical with anybody. But that's not to say it didn't happen.
Or what caused it to happen.
Or what caused it to happen.
What caused it to happen? I'd like to know.
The report said there was a water bottle thrown. Who threw it? When did they throw it? Who threw it?
Yeah.
Who kicked first? Who threw what first? Who knows? But like I said, when there's money involved and a lot of it's still on the table for Mike Kitchen, I don't think we've heard the last of it. Okay.
I happen to like Mike Kitchen a lot, and I respect him.
Yeah, well.
It's the last thing I want to say.
He's had a good career, Mac, behind the bench for a lot of years. I'd hate to see it just end in this manner, but We'll see how this thing plays out.
Right. As per the Real Kyper show, you just keep breaking the stories.
Oh, there's nothing.
And then we got a little copycatting going on around. I see that everybody's jumping on your line A buy or trade now.
Well, Mac,
I know you don't like to take credit, but I like to put credit where credit.
Listen, Patrick Liney's going to get traded. It's just a matter of when.
You got away from being an insider when you went on that big show, Hockey Night in Canada. You got away from you turned it over to Damian Cox and Elliot Friedman. You created Friedman.
Because you
now it's good to see you back in the mix.
Is this the way you want to end the weekend? Is this the way you're going to end the weekend?
Yes, that's how we should end it. We want credit. Source us. Give us those bylines now.
All right.
If they're using your stuff, we better get credit. But anyway, that's okay.
Mac, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
You want to get me off the air really bad.
Are you okay back-to-back nights in the Stanley Cup final here? More importantly, will you be awake for both of them?
I could be in and out.
Could be in and out.
In and out.
All right. Well, listen, enjoy your weekend. And we're going to call you on your Monday Real Kyper boost on blitzbet.eu.
Speaking of, those boosts just came in, so if you guys want to hear about what the good people at blitzbet.eu did for us, they boosted Braden Point to score to plus 250. And just to remind everybody, this is the time where we have to place our bets. We have to get everything going for the Harley drawing. I would get those. We don't even know if we're going to have it next weekend. This might be the last weekend possible.
I could be giving a Harley away Monday.
Hey, who knows? Who knows?
Oh, Jordan, thanks for letting me know, man. Thanks for letting us know. I'm really excited. Before I was just going to call Mac on his BS on Monday, but now I get to give away a Harley possibly. Wow. I'm pumped.
I'm down. I'm jealous that it's not me, but yeah, go to blitzbet.eu, get
those
loonies in, and see if you could increase your odds.
All right, Doug Maclean, everybody from Summerside, PEI. That's it, PEI. We're gonna come out and visit you at some point, Mac, out there.
You want to just come and play golf? I know you. You don't want to visit me. You want to play golf.
All right, you have a good one. And for all of you that have been watching all week, thank you very much. First-time watchers and listeners. Put in a rating and review on Apple. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or hit the like button. We like all of it. Nick Kypreos, Doug Maclean, and the whole crew at Real Kyper at noon wishing you a great weekend. Enjoy the hockey, and we'll see you Monday.